Blackstone, she says, has been increasingly focused on the latter for the past 7 or 8 years. Cash is why the firm's allocation to office property has plunged from 60% of its portfolio when the firm floated on the New York Stock Exchange in 2007 to just 2%. Brookfield could see even before the pandemic-inspired shift to remote work that office lease renewals were getting harder, as tenants continuously looked to jump to the latest and greatest buildings, forcing landlords to continuously invest capital in renovations and upgrades. Cash is why the firm has tilted towards logistics property and away from retail as e-commerce exploded. And cash is why it is betting big on sectors such as student accommodation and build-to-rent family housing, where demand is booming and supply has been constrained. Darren Steinberg, chief executive of the office-focused ASX-listed property giant Dexus, backs McCarthy's views. He says the property sector in Australia is about 12 months through a 2-year grind to the bottom of the cycle that will see valuations fall further as buyers readjust from purchasing an asset with a total return of 5% when rates were close to zero, to buying assets at a total return of 10%. As this plays through, Steinberg sees valuations for the best quality assets falling another 0 to 5%, while second-tier assets could fall by another 10% to 20%. Clearly, that is not going to be painless, although Andrew McDonald, the global president of Chief Operating Officer at Cushman & Wakefield, says this shows how well Australia is placed, arguing valuation falls in the US are likely to be much bigger, with even top-tier offices properties potentially falling by as much as 25%. But like McCarthy, Steinberg says these valuations falls are only part of the story of creating value in the property. Because it all comes back to the cash flow that can be generated off the assets. The good operators are really going to separate from just the capital allocators here, the good operators that can drive cash flows out of the assets, he says. While Cushman & Wakefield's McDonald is upfront about the valuation pain to come, he says it is a good thing that the property sector has already weathered 12 months of difficult conditions in good shape. Brookfield Asset Management's local managing partner for real estate, Sophie Fallman, agrees, pointing out that while the 4% jump in interest rates we've seen in Australia since May 2022 is undoubtedly a shock, it's not a crazy high level and good real estate should be able to support that level of debt. But Fallman says capital markets do remain disrupted in the property sector, and are likely to remain so for a while yet, with the lack of liquidity is weighing heavily on deal volumes. McDonald and Steinberg say that until buyers and sellers are sure that valuations have bottomed, deal flow is likely to remain weak. Still, Fallman is starting to see some interesting opportunities for players like Brookfield, which do have liquidity and an appetite to invest in themes such as digitization, decarbonization and deglobalization. Lendlease chief executive Tony Lombardo feels it too. The strong players, with the best assets, will emerge as the big winners. You're starting to see opportunities to buy because there's not as many people with the liquidity to go after things, Lombardo says.